welcome to today's class. So today we will be discussing powerful technique which is divergent and convergent thinking, which will help us arrive at solutions, the design solutions. So we have briefly discussed this in one of the previous lectures, and today we will take a little bit of a deeper dive into this subject. So convergent and divergent thinkings are two broad ways in which first, while diverging, we arrive at many different ideas and then we converge to find a one best solution out of the explored areas. So the divergent thinking is basically a process with which we come with several solutions, and there are certain ways in which we can explore these solutions, which we will see in the upcoming slides. And this is done by looking at the information that we already have, which is available to us, and also using by shifting the boundary of what is already known to us so that we can come up with more creative ideas. So, when I say shifting the boundary of what we already know, so this has been also addressed by the cognitive scientist Margaret Boden, wherein she mentions the term radical originality. So, radical originality is something which includes both the available information that we have, which we already perceive, and at the same time also broadening our horizon and expanding our worldview in order to explore areas which may not have been explored previously. And this helps us in coming up with more creative ideas, which is also something that the industry is in need of when they're looking at designers and individuals who can come up with a lot of creative ideas. So, some of the advantages of this divergent thinking, which allows us to come up with these radical ideas, are to find the best possible solutions. So, a divergent thinker will look at a lot of ideas into a pool of ideas where we will not have a lot of restrictions when it comes to exploration of these ideas. And when this is done wherein we are open to this exploration, then the likelihood of getting a better solution is always there, because the logical way of approaching a problem solving method may not fetch us the best possible solution. So, here the divergent thinking helps us out by looking at areas that we may not even consider in the first instance. The second is improved innovation. So, because we are generating high volume of ideas here, and we are also breaking free from the existing frameworks because we are trying to broaden our horizon of exploration. So, we will come up with ideas that are more innovative and which are probably not have been thought of before. And at the same time, this interdisciplinary work environment also adds to this innovation, because the team coming with different backgrounds, different experiences, so when they put their heads together, so we have more innovative ideas. The next advantage is reduced biases. So biases generally arise from the limited viewpoint that we have about certain aspects. We already hold certain biases based on our experiences that we have had prior, or many other ways like upbringing and our exploration that we have already done. So, the divergent thinking also takes care of this, because again it allows us to look beyond our biases and helps us come up with more ideas which may not be very conservative, or which may not be which we have already seen or existing, but beyond what we may assume as a standard or logical answer to the problem. Then increased team morale. So since we are working in an interdisciplinary team and we have people coming in from various backgrounds bringing in their own specializations, so at the same time we are also not coming up and picking the best idea out of the already existing ideas, because we are not looking at biases, we are trying to ignore the biases that we may already have. So we are not just jumping onto the first idea that we have, that we may have actually arrived at logically. So we are still in the area of exploration, and this allows the other team members to also share their ideas, and this in turn helps in the morale of the team, in the team work that is enhanced by this activity. And finally, more flexibility. So when we have a complex problem, then the divergent thinking allows us to adapt to plans and processes to arrive at new solutions. So this also allows us to be more flexible and arrive at better solutions. Now, convergent thinking is the opposite of divergent thinking, and it generally involves giving the correct answer. So divergent thinking is generally, we see the application of divergent thinking in areas such as arts, design, multimedia, advertisement, and we see convergent thinking being taken up by more rational thinking individuals, where the thinking of logic and reasoning is more involved. So, for example, technology, science related subjects, engineering. So, the convergent thinking, therefore, is about finding the logic and finding the correct answer. So, where 2 plus 2 will always be 4, so that is a logical answer that we arrive at. 2 plus 2 cannot be 5. And when we are sifting through our divergent ideas that we have come up with the divergent phase, then in the convergent phase, we pick up the one idea that is the most suitable, and it almost seems like we are arriving at a logical conclusion. So, the divergent thinking stage helps us generate ideas and point ways towards the solution, and offers standards for the originality and efficacy. So, one example that we can see here is of the Lego, where they employ convergent thinking to select the most promising ideas. And this procedure involves evaluation standards, testing, prototyping for the final selection, and for this whole process that they're going through. So they involve stakeholders in this process, like all the designers, engineers, even the users, to get their feedback and come up with the new line of products or select the most viable product for the company to promote. So in this diagram here, we can see the creative problem solving process. So this creative problem solving process diagram, we can see on the top here, open ended question. So this is how the process begins, with having an open ended question. We have discussed in the previous lecture that how the question that we are framing also needs to be somewhat open ended, so that there is more room for exploration. So we have covered that in the previous lecture already. So then we begin the divergent thinking phase with brainstorming, where all the brains come together. We will discuss this again in the next few slides in detail. So brainstorming is a process where the whole team comes up with many ideas, a variety of ideas, and here the quantity is more important than quality. So crazy ideas are welcome, and then this gives us a lot of variety in the solutions that may be possible for this particular problem. And like the diagram says, so thinking outside of the box is encouraged, that we should look beyond what is existing or what is a very logical way of approaching this particular problem. So this gives us a lot of novel ideas and a lot of big pool of ideas from where we can make our further selection and generate a lot of options. So once we have done this particular exercise, wherein we have several ideas, interesting ones, maybe some which are not very conventional also. So now we'll move on to the next stage, which is the convergent thinking stage. And here there are several stages through which the ideas that we have collected have to pass. So for example, if we have a box full of stones of different sizes and we want to categorize them, or get the smallest number of stones, so we will use different sizes of sieve to sift them through in order to arrive at the smallest stone. So similarly here, the smallest stone being the best viable idea that will be generated out of all the ideas we have come up with. So in the first stage of sifting, so we are looking at the constraints that are there. So we may have a constraint of, for example, say financial constraint, and some of the ideas that we have discussed may not address this particular aspect. So this may not be possible idea to take forward, or we may not have access to the equipment that is required, or time may be an issue, or there could be some legal hassles. So if we have decided that certain ideas will not be able to pass through these particular road bumps, then we will keep them aside and we'll move the other ideas which are not going to pose a problem in these aspects to the next stage, which is the pros and cons stage. So here we will be comparing all these ideas in terms of their usefulness, their relevance, and whether they are sustainable or not. So all of these aspects we will check their pros and cons and weigh them. If the pros are more, then they will move to the next stage. If there are more cons, they are not fulfilling aspects of sustainability and other relevant areas, then those ideas are discarded. So the ones that we have selected at this stage will move forward to the next, which is the evaluation stage. So here we will see whether which idea is most suitable, and can we prepare an action plan for this particular idea, what will be the timeline to execute this idea, what is the rationale behind this idea. So all of these will then take us to the final design solution, for which we will then take it forward in terms of maybe a presentation to present to the higher ups or the team, and then decide how to take this particular idea and take it to fruition. So there are certain necessities which are required for divergent thinking. So first is creativity, and creativity is the ability to think outside the box to generate unique ideas, because this is what we are looking for. And this creativity opens the possibility of innovation and different unique ways to solve the problems, and also at the same time helps us not limit ourselves to the biases that we have discussed, or to the limitations that we may have. Then mindedness is the next requirement, which is being receptive to different ideas, and here we have to foster empathic understanding of differences and appreciate the various perspectives that are being offered to us. The third is free associations. So this is the ability to make unexpected connections between the ideas, and again expand beyond what we are aware of. And this builds on the learner's curiosity. So the team members, they are curious, they want to explore certain ideas, and this stage also encourages the team members to participate in experiments and also to take risks, and the failures are also welcome because we learn from failures. So this association that we are making between elements that do not seem to be connected, they will give rise to certain failures as well. So we also have to take them into our stride. And connected to this is risk taking, because when we are looking at divergent thinking, then we are also moving into an unknown territory, because we are looking beyond our biases, we are looking beyond what exists. So we are taking a risk of sorts in a way. So we have to be open for that risk taking ability as well. Now, similarly, for the convergent thinking, there are certain requirements or necessities as well. So first is critical evaluation. So wherein the idea or solutions that we have arrived at after the divergent stage, wherein we did not really have a lot of rules or regulations in order to come up with those ideas, but in the convergent stage, we have to become very practical, just like a scientist or an engineer. So now we have to critically evaluate our ideas, and we have to scrutinize these ideas and only retain the viable options. So here we are not going to get into the crazy zone of going ahead with ideas that may fail later on, because that is not for what this process is, and that is not the final goal that we're looking for. So we have to be very practical in this particular stage. Then next is fact based decision making. So here we have to prioritize the factual information that we have, and we rely on empirical evidence when making these decisions. So for this, we may have to make the idea go through certain tests before we can say whether this will actually work. And empirical evidence always is a very helpful way of, in a quantitative manner, tell us whether something will work or not. Precision and accuracy. Now, deriving solutions that are both exact and free from errors. So we have seen that how the endeavor of the designer is always to provide an error-free solution to the user. And even despite giving an error-free solution from their side, the user may still make some errors. So that is why it is really important to ensure that the precision and accuracy factors are taken care of by the designer team, and solutions are precise and do not have any errors within them. And finally, we have solution oriented. So, focusing on finding definitive solutions to the problems. So, here, because we want ultimately to solve the problem for which we are undertaking this whole exercise, so we have to focus on finding the solution which will best solve the complex problem that we have at hand. So we can see that the difference between divergent thinking and convergent thinking is that the divergent thinking's goal is to come up with a number of answers, and which are novel, which are also surprising, or which may be uncommon. They can also be uncomfortable. So all of these, this whole gamut of emotions and experiences needs to be explored here. And then we have the convergent thinking, wherein the process of identifying the one perfect solution to the problem that we have already defined well. So we are identifying the problem, defining the problem. After all those stages, so we are coming here. So the problem we are assuming is well defined, for which we are conducting this whole exercise. And convergent thinking also evaluates a variety of facts and new ideas for their logical validity or compliance with a set of norms as well. So this diagram here shows the divergent thinking, that how we can see here that we are first diverging, and the arrows here show that how we are opening up our horizon, and the dotted line is where we arrive with our solutions, and then we diverge from that point, and then we converge from that point, so that we are left with one solution. Now, I've already mentioned that the divergent thinking, where most of the applications can be found. So, for example, in the field of advertising, we can say that we are every day coming up with new advertisements, because the goal of the brand is for the users to try their product, and that can be done when the advertisement is able to attract a larger user base. So they have to keep on innovating, and they have to keep on coming up with very different types of advertisements. So here also sometimes the ad makes us feel certain emotions. Also sometimes they make us feel uncomfortable, because those issues have to be addressed. So and opposite to that is the convergent thinking, which is very logical, like I said, 2 plus 2. So the most effective problem solvers and decision makers, so they generally tend to use both of these processes, that is divergent thinking and the convergent thinking. And this combination of divergent thinking and convergent thinking is also referred to as lateral thinking, and this has also been referred to by De Bono in his book The Use of Lateral Thinking. So this book also extensively talks about how these two thinking ways are important in order to come up with the solution for the problems. So strategies of divergent thinking. Now, one strategy here for applying this divergent thinking is self-analysis. Now, this self-analysis, we can think of it also in terms of, say, a SWOT analysis for the designer, that what are our strengths, weaknesses, threats, opportunities. And then also asking some of the questions that are listed here, they help in the brainstorm of potential topics. So, for example, how do I spend my time? What are my activities during a normal day? Or what do I like? What are my hobbies? What are my interests? So, these kind of questions, when one is asking themselves, so these help in the brainstorming and coming up with potential topics for their exploration. Now, the goal of divergent thinking is to generate many ideas that we have seen. So, divergent thinking, we have seen that it is to generate many different ideas, and sometimes the topic is broken down into the smaller components. And divergent thinking is a very free flowing activity. So, we can see that how these questions are framed. So, they will lead to spontaneous generation of ideas, some random and unorganized sort of ideas can be generated from questions like these. So, the following questions here, they help us narrow and refine the broad topics into the specific focused one. So, when we substitute the topic with the word something, so here you will see in all these questions, it is ending with something. How would you describe something? What are the causes of something? What are the effects of something? So, when we replace it with the word something, so this focuses us to think more critically in these questions, we can see. And by using the term something, we are essentially stripping down the idea to its essence, and we think of the critical elements that are involved in the topic. So, following the divergent thinking, the ideas and information will be organized using the convergent thinking, which is basically putting all these unorganized and diverse topics or ideas back together in a more logical format. Now, certain techniques can be used to stimulate the divergent thinking, and the following questions. So, some of the techniques that we can use to stimulate divergent thinking: brainstorming, keeping a journal, free writing, and mind or subject mapping. So, brainstorming is an activity, a group activity, where it is like basically creating a storm in the brain. And what does a storm do? So, a storm will just pull out everything from which is coming in its path, as an actual storm does. So, similarly, when we are doing this exercise with our brain, so whatever is coming from our brain, whatever ideas, big, small, meaningful, meaningless, so we put them down and we are not ignoring any idea. So the team is open and receptive to the ideas. So there is no pulling anyone down or laughing at any idea. So we are putting down anything and everything that is coming to our brains at that particular time of during this doing this exercise. Now, keeping a journal is also an effective way of coming up with divergent thinking, because there are certain ideas that come to us at any time of the day. So we may not be aware, we may be doing some other activity and some other idea may come to us. So keeping a journal also keeps track of what all we have been thinking throughout the day, and we can then collect our ideas. It can be like a book where all our ideas are put together, and then these ideas can later be developed into more organized and meaningful solutions. Then, free writing is where a person focuses on one particular topic and writes non-stop about it for a certain amount of time. So, here again, it is similar to brainstorming in the sense that whatever is coming to the mind, the person is just writing, because we have a time restriction. And once this exercise is done, then some changes, if required, can be made to streamline what we have come up with in this exercise. And then we have the mind or subject mapping. So, this is like a visual map, we can say. So, wherein we have a central idea, and around the central idea, we have branches and then sub branches of those branches. So, for example, if we are wanting to work on the area of healthy lifestyle, so the healthy lifestyle will be our central topic we will be working around. And when we branch out, the main branches will be, for example, diet and The sub branches of diet can be timing of the diet, the portion size, the nutrients, vitamins, fiber. So those will be the sub branches, and they can have their own further sub branches as well. The other main branch will be maybe exercise, and then the sub branches will be cardio, weightlifting, or many other types of sub branches can be there, and then they can be further branches. Then there can also be another branch of mental health. So then sub branch can be meditation or counseling or several sub branches. So this sort of shows us the entire map of the subject and what is in our mind. So we are putting it down, and it gives us a visual representation of the central idea that we are working on, and then also what all other components are involved in this to achieve that central idea that we are working for. So today we will stop here, and in the next class we will continue a little bit more in depth in this area of divergent and convergent thinking. So I'll see you all in the next class. Thank you.